part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another edition of the Reg and Rhoda podcast, brought to you by MGM Northfield Park, right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our esteemed producer, Dave Emmert, who makes sure everything gets out to you in that podcatosphere, wherever you might be in that podcatosphere. So thank you, David, for all your hard work. And Michael Regai, I guess you could say that the Browns put some hard work in since we last chatted here on the R&R podcast in finding a quarterback for the future. And Baker Mayfield is not that quarterback of the future. It's Deshaun Watson. And we kind of touched on that last time. Never say never. But boy, I think we're both surprised that they actually went out and got it done, even though they were rebuffed originally by Deshaun Watson. Eventually, he comes around and says, show me the money. And they did. And he's their quarterback.
Yeah, how about that, Kenny? I don't think it was certainly less than 24 hours after the Watson rebuffing, as you said, the Browns came down, and then the Haslams got together, and evidently it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $230 million. That includes, a signing bonus and all, which is very heavy. However, I mean, they and Andrew Berry said we wanted to explore all options that improved our quarterback play.
Right.
I think that let Baker Mayfield and his agent know that they were going to be on the look and see what they could get done. But yeah, Kenny, I am a little bit surprised. And as we know, as we're going to get into, I mean, there's a lot of tentacles to this, is there not, buddy?
Boy.
Yeah. There's a lot of tentacles off the field with this as well. And listen, I don't know how we talk about it. To me, Deshaun Watson, I got him in the top 8 of quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, that's just the Reg Eye rankings, but I would say to me, he's, in that 7-8 range to me. So, I mean, we know the guy is a winner that we're going to talk about. We know that and we'll talk about this too more. Kevin Stefanski changed his offensive philosophy a little bit, though. I don't want to see 24% plays run with 13 personnel on the football field, Ken, because that's not taking best advantage of Deshaun Watson. But we'll get into all of that. But, I guess when they went down to Houston and had all those video cut-ups on their iPads, right? Yeah. Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, I mean, it was pretty obvious that they were down there to do business, to try to convince him that this is the football team you need to play with.
When he was not charged criminally, Michael, right? When those 9 indictments, were released or let go, not followed up on, whatever the legal terminology is on that, that's when the Browns, I guess, said, okay, 22 civil cases, we'll deal with that, but no criminal charges. That's all we needed to know. That was the green light on this thing to go get it done, because Jason Lloyd did a phenomenal job in an article in The Athletic.
Yeah,
breaking it down. Yeah. Phenomenal job by Jason with some inside information on this, that Baker Mayfield at the end of the season, I guess, thought the Browns were going to trade for Kirk Cousins, according to Jason's article. So Baker thought he was on the way out anyways because of the relationship that Kirk Cousins had with Stefanski. But as we know, Cousins re-signed and increased his contract with the Vikings. So Baker was off the mark there, but they were on to something, that the Browns were looking to improve the quarterback position. And I guess at the combine, Andrew Berry let Baker's people know that if they could improve it with a Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, they were going to, but if they couldn't land either one of them, then they were going to stick with Baker Mayfield. Well, I'm guessing that didn't go over too well with Baker because pretty soon after that, he comes out with the Instagram post saying, thanks for the memories, Cleveland. See you later. And so that put the pressure, I think, on the Browns a little bit to go after Deshaun Watson hard. And even when he told them no, give Andrew Berry, I guess, credit if we're looking at it from just a pure football standpoint, where he circled back and got some intel that, according to Jason Lloyd's article, no team would guarantee the entire contract, went to Jimmy Haslam, and Jimmy H said, it's just money. Go ahead, do whatever you want with it. And they guaranteed all $230 million over 5 years, Reg. That's $80 million more guaranteed than any other contract in the history of the National Football League. That? So if you want to say the Browns went all in on Deshaun Watson, I think that's accurate.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, and it's it's sending a big time message, Kenny, that they're all about winning. Now, I believe, I'm hoping that my belief is right. I'm hoping that Marcus Mariota concludes. Marcus Mariota, listen to me. I'm looking at Mariota here because you and I were talking about
right.
Deshaun Watson. I'm hoping Deshaun Watson concludes his career, Kenny, as a Cleveland Brown. And that when he's 26 years old, you can get 10 to 12 years out of this guy. Kenny, I wouldn't, would it be too far-fetched to say, I want a whole bunch of deep in the playoff seasons, one Super Bowl win, Ken. We need one Super Bowl win. Minimum one. Yep. Minimum one. I mean, we know it's hard. It's very, very hard. There's no doubt about that. So we're not going to, just throw that to the wind and say, yeah, he better win 4 or 5. Well, that's not reality, quite frankly. But need one Super Bowl win. I'd like to say 2 appearances at least. If he's here 10 years as a starting quarterback with what this team has invested in him. And I have full belief that Andrew Berry he's not going to just let this roster erode now, Ken, because he went out and got the quarterback, right? You and I have given Berry a lot of compliments and kudos for the way he's put this roster together. Well, that work's not done either on the rest of the roster. But we know how many times, unless you've got a quarterback that's capable, what are there, Kenny? Maybe 7 or 8 of them. Let's be honest.
Yep.
In the world that are capable of winning a Super Bowl and taking your football team through 17 games and then 4 playoff games and being the guy that you got, that you could count on. Well, if you don't have that, you have nothing. You can't win in the NFL without that. So I commend the Browns for saying, listen, let's go. Let's roll it out. Now, where the conundrum comes in here, buddy, as we know, is all of he's acquitted. Yes, he was acquitted, but all of, the alleged sexual misconduct, and many people call it predatory against women.
22 civil lawsuits.
All right.
That's how many there are right
22 now. Civil lawsuits that, right. Again, the main thing is being acquitted criminally. But Kenny, we know that, hey, listen, I think that's going to be brought up all the time, is it not? Constantly.
Yeah.
Whether he's acquitted or not, it's continually going to be brought up. The Browns know that, and they're willing to face that fire.
They are in such dire straits as an organization to win a Super Bowl that they were willing to, as some people I saw on Twitter put it, sell their soul to the devil. And acquire Deshaun Watson and we haven't even mentioned giving up 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick.
That's right.
And they get him back along with a 5th-round pick. Now, for me, I think that's again, if we're looking at it just from a pure football perspective, Reg, and it's hard to do when you're talking about 22 civil cases and the things that you read that happened, where he said, they were consensual and the ladies are saying, no, they weren't. So we'll see how this plays out in the civil cases. But from a pure football standpoint, it's a hell of a deal by Andrew Berry because, Reg, the way I look at it is they didn't give up 3 first-round picks. They really only gave up 2 because guess what? Deshaun Watson becomes your first-round pick this year, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Are you going to find a quarterback in this year's draft that's better than Deshaun Watson? No, right?
No.
Okay. So I look at it as if in 2022, they drafted Deshaun Watson. So they gave up 2 firsts, a 3rd, and a 4th. And guess what? They're going to trade Baker at some point here, and they're going to get a 2nd or a 3rd back. So that lessens the blow a little bit there too. when you trade Baker and get something back for him.
You think they're getting a second or third back for Baker?
I think it'll be a second or a third. Yes, I do, because he's young. Because he's young, Reg.
Well, I hope you're right, because that again, if you get a second or third rounder back, to me, wow, that's about the maximum that you could hope for in this situation. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, the thing is, Kenny, I'm amazed. I thought for sure that Greg Newsome or
Denzel Ward,
possibly Denzel Ward, was going to be a part of this. I'm amazed that the Browns were able to avoid giving away one of their core piece young guys, Ken.
I'm with you 100%. Kareem Hunt, Grant Delpit, somebody like that,
sure.
I thought would be thrown into it, but no. And that's why I say Andrew Berry got Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, for 2 firsts, a third, and a fourth. And to get a quarterback of that caliber on the football field, that's a heck of a move.
Kenny, that's almost
Andrew
unheard of.
Berry.
I mean to interrupt you, but it's almost unheard of.
So kudos to him if this works out. Now, it's a big if. And I was a little bit, ticked off that Jimmy and Dee Haslam, Andrew Berry, and Kevin Stefanski didn't face the media to talk about the trade. They just sent out on social media and in a press release on their website statements from each of them that they vetted him and they talked to this person, they talked to that person. They didn't talk to the lawyer of the 22 women who have filed the civil cases against Deshaun Watson, but supposedly they've talked to everybody else. But it would have, to me, it would have showed, I don't want to say more class, but I would have had more respect for them if they would have got up in front of the media today without Deshaun Watson being there. Just got up and said, look, we wanted to address you. We know this is a very touchy situation because of what Deshaun Watson is facing in the civil cases, although the criminal charges, there are none right now. The grand jury did not indict him. So we know this is a touchy situation, but we wanted to come up and answer some of the questions that we can, but some, I hope you understand, we won't be able to answer because he's still dealing with the civil cases, okay? I would have respected them more had they faced the media than just sending out a press release and a tweet. And that's the way they decided to do it. We'll see if when they hold a press conference, is it going to be Dee and Jimmy? Is it going to be Dee, Andrew Berry and Watson, Dee, Jimmy, and how many people are they going to have up there to try and sell this to the fans who don't believe it was the right move?
Dee must be there, Ken. Okay. How about Dee must be there just because of the criminal case against him and the involvement with females in this. Dee's got to be there. She now she's the top voice of ownership anyway. So that's number one. She's got to be there. I'm extremely disappointed, Kenny. Extremely disappointed that they did not already do this face to face.
Yep.
They have to. But to me now, okay, you do it 2 weeks from now, it's all well and good, but man, no. Kenny, I want to see body language, right? I want to see facial expression of Jimmy and Dee Haslam and Andrew Berry, because Kenny, this thing here has got, so many potential landmines to it, right? And it is way more than just football, just because of the charges that were against Deshaun Watson. So I'm very disappointed that they haven't already done it, Ken. And when they do, though, I hope there's very heavy scrutiny, because, Kenny, there needs to be. You got to find out. They have, the three of them have to be personally in front of everyone and let everyone know what led them as an organization professionally to make this decision. Have to.
I'm with you. And I have a question in my phone that I was thinking about the other night while, lying in bed, can't sleep and thinking about this deal and everything. And I wrote a question down that I'm going to try and get in on the Zoom call if there is one, if they do this press conference. I want to share that question with you and our listeners. This is the question I would ask, one of the questions I would ask, Reg. We'll get into that. We'll get into the quarterback situation now in the AFC North for next season. Is the AFC North the one of, if not the top quarterback division in all of the National Football League, or at least top 2 or 3? We'll get into that. We'll get into, how does this affect the Browns' chances overall? Are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender now with Deshaun Watson in his first year? How many games will he be suspended? Because Jacoby Brissett wasn't brought in here, by chance, just in case. No, they brought him in here because they know he's going to be playing 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10 games should the suspension come down from Roger Goodell. So we're going to tackle all of that, Reg, when we come back here as the R&R podcast continues right after this on the Press Play Podcast Network.
What's up, everyone? Chase Smith here, host of the Chase Smith Podcast, and my podcast reflects who I am. My hobbies, my interests, my passions, my curiosities, my careers, my questions, and my family. I'll spend time talking about all types of sports, movies, TV shows, trending news stories, and other cultural events, and even faith. This is who I am, and I hope I can get to know you as well. Join me on the Chase Smith Podcast, and let's have some thought-provoking conversations, only on the Press Play Podcast Network.
What's good, everybody? My name is Taylor Vanderbilt, and I'm the host of the 440 College Basketball Podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. On the Full 40, we talk about literally everything college basketball related. It could be women's, it could be men's, it could be recruiting, it could be the tournament. It does not matter. We cover it all. So check it out. Again, it's the Full 40 College Basketball Podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we continue with the Reggae and Rhoda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, brought to you by MGM Northfield Park. And Michael, a lot of talk in that first segment about the trade with Deshaun Watson. Again, 3 1s, a 3 and a 4. Deshaun Watson and a 5 come to the Browns. 22 civil lawsuits against him. The indictment, the grand jury did not indict him on the 9 charges that were up against him. So now it's just the civil suit. So we're waiting on that. They did not hold a press conference, at least as of the taping of this R&R podcast. They will have to at some point. And Reg, I wrote this question down. I got up out of bed. I was laying in bed, counting sheep and couldn't fall asleep. So I figured, well, you know what? I'll put my wondrous mind to work. And the question I would ask is this. In order for a conversation to begin, it has to be started by one individual. So who was the one individual, the first person that started the conversation about potentially trading for Deshaun Watson? And the way I worded it there, so they could not back out of it if I get to, ask this question. I want to know, was it Jimmy? Was it Andrew Berry? Was it Kevin Stefanski? Somebody had to start this conversation that we need to go get Deshaun Watson and get in on this. And I want to know who it was.
Yeah.
Who do you think it was?
Andrew Berry.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Andrew Berry on that, although I think it had in lockstep with Kevin Stefanski because, listen, those two gentlemen were not going to have Baker Mayfield be the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns in 2022. Now, that we know for sure. And, Kenny, I'll be honest with you. Who are the other I'll call them suspects and try to be, though, courteous to them. I mean, so if you didn't go that route, what are you looking at? You're looking at what? Marcus Mariota, right?
Yeah, he was still available.
Looking at all the potentially Jameis Winston.
Yep.
Do you want to get in on Matt Ryan, who's going to be 38 years old? I like Matt Ryan. Don't get me wrong. He's a solid quarterback. But Ken, I mean, here again, you got a chance to go hit the home run with Deshaun Watson at 26 years of age. And like I said, I fully expect him to be the Browns quarterback until his career ends now. And a lot of things got to go right, but let's hope that that's exactly the way it plays out. But to answer your question, to me, I believe Andrew Berry was the one that really started the engine and drove it on this one.
We're going to disagree on this one. I think it came from the higher ups. I think Jimmy Haslam looked at the opportunity and said, I'll deal with the PR hit if he is cleared of his criminal charges. If he's not indicted, the civil suit, money makes that go away in a lot of cases, right or wrong. And we'll see if this is settled out of court. And maybe that had something to do with the guaranteed $230 million, Michael, to help him pay off, maybe if needed, these civil lawsuits. And how about the way they structured year number 1 of his contract, expecting a suspension of anywhere from 4 to 10 games, I got to believe, from Roger Goodell, right? He gets a $45 million signing bonus in year 1 that does not count against his salary. He's making $1 million to play for the Browns this year, but he got a $45 million signing bonus. Why did they do it that way? That way, if he's suspended, he's only going to lose 50 to 60 grand per game, as opposed to what, 250, 300,000 a game if he was making millions in that first year. So I give the Browns, if you want to give them credit for looking at the worst case scenario, and saying, all right, how can we make sure he does want to play for us? Originally, he didn't want to. Well, we're going to guarantee you the money. We're going to, make sure you don't get hit hard with the suspension in that first year, right? Mm-hmm. And, this way you lose less money, you make more money, and you're our starting quarterback. And he said yes to all of the above.
Yeah. Well, I do think, though, Kenny, and this is just football perspective quickly, I do think when he finally said, I better take another look at this, because they Browns got a top 10 offensive line.
Right.
They got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and they just went out and got Amari Cooper. Right. Mm-hmm. And I bet you they told him, we're going to try to get Juice Landry back here too, which I think still now could come into play. I think from that football perspective, that had a lot to do with it, because, Houston, man, he had those 2 solid years where they were 10-6, and was it 9-7 or 11-5? Couple, not 21, but a couple years before that. Kenny, this guy was doing it with smoke and mirrors for an offensive line, and so I do think the football thing came into it a little bit to get him to change his mind. And I think that's where Andrew Berry stayed heavily attached and said, really, I want you to take a look at that now. So, I mean, listen, Kenny, it's, I know there's a lot of, shall we say, bad feelings. I know I had many Browns fans. I was in Dayton this weekend calling the high school basketball state championships, and boy, Kenny, I had more than not say to me, Reggie, Browns fan, I'm done. I'm done. I'm willing to deal with the losing, but losing's one thing. But now this is the reaction to how we're going to take care of all the losing. How was it on Kenny and JT, especially today? What you said it? What were the numbers? 50-50.
There were some people who were saying, hey, it's a great football move. Everybody deserves a second chance. And then there were other people that were, disgusted by it. And that there's a pattern with the Browns, that they're willing to roll the dice on a Kareem Hunt, which has worked out, in their favor, right? Kareem Hunt was suspended, 8 games, I think it was. And that video of him, striking the woman in a dispute. There was who was the defensive lineman that spent some time behind bars and played for them this past year? Malik McDowell. this will be the third player where they've decided to give somebody a second chance. One worked out with Kareem Hunt, one didn't with the defensive lineman. And now you have to hope and pray, if you're the Browns, that it does work out, because it's the most important position in all of sports.
No doubt.
At quarterback, and you're giving Deshaun Watson, if you will, a second chance, although he hasn't been found guilty of anything as of yet. Okay.
No, he hasn't. Right.
So, in fairness to him, but in the, court of public opinion, he's guilty in a lot of people's eyes, right? Based on the information that's come out.
Yeah, big time.
And it's a he said, she said. There is no evidence, true hard evidence. And that's why there was no indictment, because there was no evidence really to back anything up. It was a he said, she said. So, but the Browns now, this is the third time they're willing to take a chance, because they think it'll help them win football games. So a lot of people are looking at the organization, and when they talk about building culture, they just laugh and say, yeah, okay, don't give me that crap about
there
culture.
You go. That's right.
That's
right. Heard that a lot.
Dealing with all this. So
yeah, heard that a lot this weekend too. People are saying, that's don't want to hear about that, because that's a bunch of crap, because you're taking guys who, have had all of these issues. And it's a whole lot more than now, back in the day, Kenny, it was maybe guys who were, smoking weed or getting in their cars and driving around intoxicated. Now, this is a whole different deal than that. Malik McDowell.
Yeah. So Kareem Hunt, Malik McDowell, now Deshaun Watson. And don't forget, Greg Robinson was arrested in Louisiana with an estimated how many pounds of pot in his trunk or whatever. So
a whole bunch.
Yeah. So, Jimmy Haslam, hey, look what happened with Pilot Flying J. Some people are saying this isn't an honest individual. This isn't a good man, to do business with, because all he's worried about is money with his, gas business and winning football games, and he'll do whatever it takes to make money and win games. A lot of people are feeling that way about the Browns ownership led by Jimmy Haslam.
Right. And, Kenny, on the other side of it, I'm not going to be or whatever disparaging on the fans who say, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn who they got out there. They're the ones paying them. Can they help the Cleveland Browns get to where, we as fans all wanted them to be forever and ever? And that's maybe with a football team that actually can be one of the two that haven't done it, Detroit Lions, Cleveland Browns, to win a pro football championship, right? And I don't have any problem with, I'm not going to be the guy that says to all those people, oh, don't you care about, the way the players conduct it? Kenny, it's honestly, it's kind of pie in the sky anymore, don't you think? I mean, that's just not a thing. They aren't the only team. We know there's many teams in the NFL, right? That have said, you know what, listen, we're willing to go the long route with guys if we have to. Now, Kenny, I'm not trying to be flippant or funny. Sometimes I look at things, I mean this dead seriously. It's like, damn, as long as our players don't kill someone or murder someone, then, okay, we can deal with basically everything else. Now, that's a little scary, Ken.
Yes.
Right? That's a little scary in this day and age. But, and they've got to know. I mean, the Haslams aren't ridiculous, ignorant fools. If this doesn't work, oh boy.
Yeah,
right?
if he goes down the wrong path, allegedly again, right?
Yes.
If there's more to this, right?
Yes. So.
But again, as you just pointed out, you got to go back to Ben Roethlisberger and the allegations that, were against him early in his career. And he was, I think that was Roger Goodell's first player he's suspended based on the conduct policy in the National Football League.
That's right.
And the Steelers, while they thought about trading him, they didn't. They stuck by him. It worked out. 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl wins. Some people to this day that aren't Steeler fans still, reference him in negative terms.
Sure.
With sexual assault and misconduct. But the Steelers stood by their quarterback. So you say, well, look, that's one of the top organizations in the NFL, and they stood by their quarterback as he went through all of that. You had the Kobe Bryant situation with the Lakers in the Colorado hotel, right?
That was real ugly.
Right. And Ray Lewis pleads to disorderly conduct when he was originally brought in as a part of a murder case, right? And that murder was never solved. 2 men are dead, never solved, and he gets disorderly conduct, and he's wearing a yellow jacket and has a bust in Canton. So you're right, So from that standpoint, the NFL is willing to look the other way with a lot of guys if you can help us win football games.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So there again, it's difficult. There's no question about it. And we'll just, you, meaning you as fans of the team, and you have a vested interest in the Cleveland Browns, you have to, as an individual, make your own decision. If this is something that you find way too far gone, I would just say, remember, again, he's been acquitted. He's been acquitted right now of the criminal charges. So, but it's there's no wrong here, Kenny. There's no wrong answer. I mean, everybody as an individual has got to decide how they feel about that, and having this kind of young man representing your football team. I mean, that's period. It's a bottom line.
Yeah. All right, we got to get another break in here, Reg. When we come back, I want to get to now from the football perspective of it, Reg. The AFC North has Deshaun Watson as quarterback of the Browns, Lamar Jackson as quarterback of the Ravens, jackpot Joey Burrow as quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, and Mitchell, his mama call him Mitchell, I'm going to call him Mitchell Trubisky, as quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to look at that division compared to some of the other. Is this one of, if not the best quarterback division in all of the National Football League? And is that why the Browns felt maybe they had to sell their soul, in order to get somebody to compete in this division? And we'll dive into all that when we return on the R&R podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Mike Voorhees.
And I'm Brian Shaw. No, not the pitcher. We're the Guardians of the Land MLB podcast, formerly a Swing and a Tribe.
Don't have time to watch 162 games of baseball? We do. We have you covered with recaps of the games, stats, and analysis throughout the MLB season.
Subscribe now to Guardians of the Land and Press Play Pods for all your Cleveland sports analysis.
We are excited to announce that we are joining the Press Play Podcast Network. The Krypton Report podcast is dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl, and the planet Krypton. We discuss movies, TV, game, comics, and all things DC.
So join me, Tyler, with my co-host James and Jania.
So join us as we explore DC's multiverse.
Look for Krypton Report on all social media platforms.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary. And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
And we continue with the Reg and Rhoda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, brought to you by Northfield Park. And Michael, the move made by the Cleveland Browns to acquire Deshaun Watson, who in his last football season back in 2020 threw for 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He also rushed that year for 444 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 fumble. So his numbers the last time he stepped on a football field, Michael Regai, Deshaun Watson, 5,267 offensive yards, 36 touchdowns, 8 turnovers.
Yep.
That puts him, like you said, in that top 8, and that puts the Browns, I think, right in the thick of things in the AFC North and in the vaunted AFC.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And listen, this is the diversity of quarterback play now, where I think most every team in the National Football League wants and looks for. I mean, Kenny, you can name that, that 5 and 7 step drop just use those tremendous arms and play out of the pocket. There's a couple of those that are successful anymore. Aaron Rodgers as well. Matthew Stafford. We just saw him make a change from what his career had been dead-ended in Detroit with that miserable organization, and win a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. So, but there are many of them, Ken. I mean, now it's all about finding that quarterback that can use his legs, ad lib, puts that extra added dimension of pressure on the defense. And Kenny, Deshaun Watson is absolutely that. Now, what, 1 and 2, 3 playoff games, right?
Yes.
3 won one of them, 1 and 2 in his playoff games. But Ken, I got to believe the potential that this offense, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it too. I want to believe now Kevin Stefanski's going to really have to take a hard look at this, though, and I hope that he's not planning on running 13 personnel out there. That's 1 running back and 3 tight ends, folks, because that's not what Deshaun Watson's offense is going to be about. But I hope he's at 23% of his snaps last year. He had 3 tight ends on the football field, Ken. That's got to change philosophically now from Kevin Stefanski when you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, right?
Absolutely, positively, 100% yes. And I've got to believe he sold him on that when they had that 2-hour meeting last week, right, Michael? That, hey, if we bring you in here, this is what we're going to do. Look at this. We ran some of those RPOs. It may not look real good because we didn't run it real good. In other words, Baker didn't do a good job of it. But look, this is how you ran it. And that's what we see you doing in our offense. And, oh, yeah, we went out and we just acquired Amari Cooper. Okay. Jarvis Landry may want to come back if you come here, right? And we're going to try and clear some cap space maybe to do that. So you got your slot guy, you got your deep guy or a big play guy in Amari Cooper. You'll get your slot guy with Landry. Donovan Peoples-Jones as a 3rd or a 4th isn't bad, right? Then do they go out and get one in the draft possibly too? I
think so still. May not be that, up as high as we thought, but I believe they will, Kenny, and bring in another young, talented wide receiver. So this offense is going to change. It's going to change in the way you look at it, and it's going to change from a scheme standpoint a great deal. But, again, now they're going to have to hit the ground running. Everybody's going to expect this offense to Kenny, not have to play in 13-10 football games. You don't want 24, 27, 28, 31 points every time that Deshaun Watson goes out with his offense now. That's what fans are going to expect.
He's got a running game.
That's what you got it all, really.
He's got a running game now that he didn't have when he was in Houston, right? Carlos Hyde, maybe 1 year had 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
maybe
decent.
But nothing like.
But it didn't sustain, though.
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the one thing that worries me about him. And I guess in reading Jason Lloyd's article, going back to that in The Athletic, one of the reasons he originally said no to the Browns, Michael, was the weather. Because I love using one of your words, his one remembrance of coming to Cleveland was a 10-7 loss when the game was postponed 36 minutes because of a hailstorm and the winds were blowing all over the place. And, he remembered that. And it's like, do I want to go there in November, December, and January and play quarterback there when I could be in a dome in New Orleans? I can be in nicer weather in Carolina. I played my games in a dome in Houston. That's my one concern about him, Reg. When the season is on the line, right? November, December, January, not just in Cleveland now. He's coming from the South, the division, to the AFC North, which is Cincinnati, bad weather, Pittsburgh, bad weather, Baltimore, not great weather, and Cleveland, bad weather. Yeah. So you're looking potentially at 5 games a year late in the season where you're going to be playing in bad weather. It's something he's never really had to do. That is a concern, when I look at this, and I'll be curious to see how he adjusts or adapts to it because neither quarterback played well in that one game, a 10-7 final won by the Browns in the rain, the hail, the storm, and everything like that. But that's an area that concerns me because he originally didn't want to come here because of that. But when they ponied up the extra dollars, he was willing to take that chance.
I'm going to be interested in what he says about that. I almost hope it was, overblown a little bit about him mentioning the November, December, January weather potential as not being real good in Cleveland.
Right.
Because, we want our quarterbacks here in Cleveland to that where, it's like a blank canvas. You don't even ever think about that. And Kenny, I'll take it a step further. And if it is, you use that to your advantage too, as a quarterback of a cold weather football team. So yeah, I'm with you. It was not something that you would really want to hear, but it's a young man from the state of Georgia, grew up around Atlanta, and he, his college days were in Clemson, so.
And Houston.
Then Houston. So
in
that's
a dome.
it, man. In a dome. So, it's pretty much been that kind of quarterbacking life. So it's going to be a change for him. But, Kenny, I love his talent. I love his already shown his capability to win in the National Football League and be the guy that wants to take all of those challenges on his shoulders, as I do believe the young man wants to be known as a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League and a guy who wins and wins big. And I'm going to stay with that, Ken,
okay,
until proven otherwise, okay?
I'm looking at the numbers, and I'll give you these. Did the research before the show. Win-loss records for the quarterbacks in the division, all right? Here are your 4 starters: Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, looks like Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, who's been in Chicago in, as we know, bad weather.
Right, and bad team, really.
A real bad team.
Offensively, right? So
bad.
Deshaun Watson has started 53 games in the NFL, 28-25. So he's above 500 as a starter, 528 winning percentage. Jackpot Joey Burrow in 2 years has started 26 games in the regular season, Michael, 12-13-1. But this year in the postseason, 3-1, his only loss in the Super Bowl to the LA Rams. Lamar Jackson, 37-12 as a starter for the Baltimore Ravens in the regular season. That's a winning percentage of 755.
Yep.
Michael, in the postseason, 4 playoff games, he's 1-3.
Went a different direction there, didn't it?
Yeah, when it matters most, right? And Mitchell Trubisky, and this was, again, with a bad offensive team in Chicago, good defense. He goes 29-21 in 50 starts for the Chicago Bears. That's a 580 winning percentage. Okay.
That's right.
0-2 in the playoffs, though. 2 starts, didn't win a playoff game.
Correct.
Baker Mayfield with the Browns went 29-30 in 59 starts, 492 winning percentage. He was 1-1 in the postseason. So when you look at it, it's an upgrade with individual talent with Watson over Baker Mayfield. No question about it. Better arm, more mobile. Also, a better starting record. Has the same amount of postseason wins as Baker Mayfield. But, a lot of people look at Baker and you don't know who he really is. Is he Baker years 1 and 3, or is he Baker's year 2 and 4? And we're going to find out if anybody really wants to take a shot at that by offering up a 2nd or a 3rd round draft pick to the Browns for him, maybe a Carolina team or a Seattle team or your Detroit Lions with buddy boy John Dorsey, up there in the front office, who drafted him. So right now, this division, Reg, I'll put it up there with the AFC West as far as best quarterback play expected this coming season, right?
Yeah.
You got Herbert with the Chargers. Patty Mahomes with the Chiefs, Derek Carr with the Raiders, and who am I forgetting? Denver. You got Russell Wilson now.
Wilson now. Yeah, it's been Drew Lock.
Yeah, so that to me is the quarterback division number 1. The AFC North may be quarterback division number 2 with the moves the Steelers and the Browns made this offseason, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, this NFC West this past year, pretty good. Matthew Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, right? And Kyler Murray. No, doesn't do anything for you.
Jimmy G's not going to be there. They're looking to deal him.
No. I'm just saying what we saw as the season
last year. But moving forward, right? He's not going to be there.
Right. No, they're gonna go with the young fella,
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance that they drafted out of North Dakota State.
And I'm sorry, I'm not, Murray, I'm not sold on him. And neither are
I'm
they.
with you. Neither am I. No, I'm with you on there.
Yeah.
I don't think you can win big with Kyler Murray. We'll see. We'll see if we're right or wrong on that. But Matthew Stafford, that dude went out there and admittedly, always a Matthew Stafford fan. Love the arm talent, love the skill. I've always felt the Detroit Lions organization did an egregious amount of errors by not putting a capable roster around him. But he goes out there in his first year. Wins the Super Bowl. Wins the Super Bowl. So can Deshaun Watson equal that coming to the Cleveland Browns?
Did Jimmy Haslam look at that move by the LA Rams where they went all in, right? Say, you know what? I'm going to go all in too. I'm going to take the PR hit. I'll deal with it. I'll pay him whatever I got to pay him. It's just money. I print that. And let's go get Deshaun Watson, because you ain't going to find a quarterback in the next 3 years in the first round of the draft equal to his talent on the field. So I'm going to follow the plan of the Rams and go all in, and let's bring Deshaun Watson in. And they did. Now, will it work out for the Browns like it did for the Rams?
Well, it's a hell of a good point, Kenny, because I believe that the answer to that is I would believe that if it wasn't the Haslams, then at least Andrew Berry kind of used that as a calling card.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Rams. Everybody thought, Matthew Stafford, but he's not a winner. He never was able to bring to Detroit but 3 playoff appearances in 11 years. But take one, Sean McVay, right, Kenny? Sean McVay said, get me this guy. We'll win big with him like we couldn't with Jared Goff. There you go.
They did.
And there you go. And Stafford was brilliant, even more brilliant in the postseason than he was. And he had a tremendous top 3 quarterback in the NFL in the regular season. So can this thing happen again? 2 consecutive years? Boy, wouldn't that be something, Kenny? If Deshaun Watson and the Browns emulated what we're just talking about with what the Los Angeles Rams got to take them right to the top with Matthew Stafford.
Now, the question there to make that happen, Reg, is how many regular season games is he going to play in based on what a lot of people are expecting is a suspension of anywhere from 4 to 10 games, maybe, right?
See, Kenny, I believe it's going to be 4, Ken.
Okay. All right.
I hope I'm right. I believe it's going to be 4. I've talked to this weekend. I talked to a couple of guys that had previously been in the National Football League in front offices. Now, not the GM, okay, but guys who had been personnel guys, scouts, what have you, that have had long relationships with in the league in front offices. They believe 4 or 5. Okay. 2 different guys. So I guess, boy, if it is that, that's probably the best the Cleveland Browns can hope for, partner.
Well,
4 or 5.
Yeah, here's what I think is going to happen. I think Roger Goodell, so he doesn't look bad originally, is going to slap at least 8 games on him, okay? I think the Browns and Watson will appeal, and then that'll get knocked down. So I'm thinking anywhere 8 to 10 games originally, reduced to 4 to 6 games when it's all said and done. Okay. That's what I'm expecting. And by going out and getting Jacoby Brissett to be his backup, who's a mobile quarterback like he is and everything, to run the offense so it doesn't change. That leads me to believe that the Browns are expecting a minimum of 4 games because they went out and brought him in and got rid of Case Keenum, who is now the backup to Allen in Buffalo. So that's going to be the interesting thing. We had Dan Lust on, who's a sports attorney today on the Kenny and JT show. Okay.
What was his thoughts on it?
Dan said that he thinks this thing could last into next season, the civil cases, and therefore nothing may happen this year to Deshaun Watson if the civil cases aren't settled. He brought up a sexual assault, an alleged sexual assault charge against Antonio Brown. And he played into the season while that was still going on. So he said the number of things could get resolved. They could just say, you know what, now that we got the money, let's make this go away, pay everybody, and it's done with. Then Roger Goodell decides, boom, slaps the sentence on whatever that is, because he's judge, jury, and executioner. Or this thing could linger because supposedly there was one report that Deshaun Watson and his attorney wanted to settle all of them at once. And only 18 of the 22 were willing to settle. So it was either all or nothing. We'll fight you in court then. And so that's why nothing's been settled yet. So does that change? So this thing is far from being over. So the Browns are preparing themselves in case he does get suspended. They've got Brissett. If he doesn't, well, they go into the season with him. And the worst thing that could happen to them, Reg, I think, is they start the season and then things get resolved. And then he gets slapped with a suspension midseason. That's something you don't want to have happen, in my opinion.
No, not from the Browns standpoint. I'll tell you one thing, though, for everything that we said tonight, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I am absolutely, I'm kind of maybe, to whatever you find as a higher power, higher being, Kenny, I'm saying, you know what? This organization really has put their ultimate backing and support with me, and I'm going to go out and show them why I am a winning Super Bowl quarterback in the National Football League. I hope that's his approach and attitude, Kenny, because I think the organization and the city deserve that after the way that, this young man was shown this absolute overwhelming support by this organization.
Well, I hope he gets his act together off the field too, because something happened
Absolutely.
there, Reg, right?
Oh, yeah,
something
it did.
Yeah. He admitted that it was consensual sex. The girls are saying it was not. So there was something that was going on there. So hopefully more importantly, he gets his act together off the field and realizes he can't misstep. If indeed he did do something wrong, he still says he didn't. But he's got to realize the scrutiny that's going to be on him, the spotlight that's going to be on him. And so he needs to stay on the straight and narrow and also perform on the field on top of all that. Because like you said, the Browns have gone out of their way to give him everything they could possibly give him, the most guaranteed money of any contract in the history of the NFL, while dealing with 22 civil suits against him. So let's hope that they went all in and they hit the jackpot. If you're a Browns fan.
Absolutely. Lighthearted approach. What do you think this does to the massage parlor industry in Cleveland, my man?
Yeah. Oh boy, they better have in-house massages for him, and that's it. If you need one, you get it done in-house here. You can't be messing like that. Watch who you run with, watch what you do. And hopefully you're all about winning football games, and that's the most important thing to you. And I hope that's the case. And he's not just happy he got paid $230 million guaranteed no matter what happens.
Yeah, and again, as I said a moment ago, I don't think so. I really think he wants to show everybody why that he is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and he can come in and take this team that's never got anywhere near that, right? I shouldn't say that, not near it, a few AFC championship games, right? But it's been a long time, Kenneth, when it's been sustained. So I'm hoping Watson has that approach and that mentality and mindset.
All right, this is just the beginning of the Deshaun Watson story in Cleveland. Plenty more chapters to come on and off the field. And as that information becomes available, you can bet we will break it down for you here on the Reg Eye and Rhoda podcast. Great stuff, Reg. Next time we get together, we'll dive into this maybe a little more as we get more info, but also we got to check in on those Cavaliers. I said they would win 42 games.
You might be right on it.
And they're 41-31 with 10 to go, Reg. After losing to LeBron and the Lakers tonight, we didn't get into that, but we'll do that another time. We'll see where they're at the next time you and I get together, as well as talk some Browns, all right?
Sounds great, buddy. Always good to be with you. Great job, Dave Emmert, our producer.
All right, that's it, folks. Deshaun Watson, a member of your Cleveland Browns. We're going to see how this thing plays out. I guarantee you one thing, though. The Browns are going to be front and center on and off the field as far as the headlines go, unless the Cavaliers make it to the NBA Finals. And we're going to be right there to break it down for you here on the R&R podcast. All right, Reg, great job. We'll talk to everybody next time here on the Reg Eye and Rhoda podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.